So, I'm going to speak about responsive images. So, why do we need a responsive image solution? So, basically, as designers design for 27-inch iMacs, as is the case these days, obviously, if you have an image that's 1600 pixels wide, if you just shrink that down to mobile, that's probably over half a meg in size. If you have 10 of those images on a page, and somebody's on 3G and they have to pay for their data, then obviously that's going to cause some massive bills, and that's not very good. So we need to be responsible with our images. So basically, we need to find a way of having nice, glossy images on desktop and images that work at mobile as well. So what is the solution? So there is a solution. Basically, we use the picture element and source set to basically allow us to serve different images based on a media query. So at set sizes, so tablet, we can basically provide a completely different image file, which can be a different aspect ratio, completely different image if you wanted it to be, which obviously means we can have smaller images, so the appropriate sized images for the device, meaning we're saving bandwidth. And obviously that helps the user because they're not getting massive data bills. So why all the whining? So, another thing to mention just briefly is that the picture element isn't actually supported at the minute, but we use a polyfill which uses JavaScript to basically make it work. So yeah, all the whining. So we are using the picture element, and it does, kind of what we need it to do. It gives us a responsive image solution, but we are still getting problems pretty much with every single project we're doing. So what are the problems? So when you change the image size, depending on how you're implementing the image, you have problems on a regular basis. A lot of the time in banners, you have the problems of a fixed height banner. As the browser gets really large, that image starts getting cut off because it fills the space, and as it gets wider, the image gets wider and taller, but the fixed banner height, obviously, it gets cut off. So if we position the banner top left and the bottom gets cut off, if the client uploads a banner image which has the focus of the image at the bottom, then they ring up saying, my banner's being cut off, what's going on? So we can change that to sit at the bottom, but then it gets cut off at the top, and obviously if they're using a CMS, they could be uploading whatever, and we don't know where the focus of the image is, so we could do it center, which we do a lot of the time. But as I'll show you later on, if you have an image getting cut off kind of top and bottom, what happens if it's a picture of somebody's face, which is a problem we've had on King Edward. Yeah, so images that need to scale to fill the space. So often you'll get a grid where there's text on one side and image on the other side, and the image has to scale depending on how much text the client puts in to fill that space. And then you get, obviously, images getting cut off, and then if it's somebody's face, it kind of looks stupid, and we get the client bringing up. And then the other problem is, obviously, if we're serving multiple images, kind of image, is what do we do when the client has to upload an image? Is do they upload all the different image sizes they need, or do we crop them out, in the back end, which then obviously leads on to other problems as well. So let me enlighten you. Oh, hello. So with banner images, hopefully this loads, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So this is option one. So this is a fixed height banner, and as you can see, when you get to a certain size, because it's set to always be 100% height of the banner and 100% width, you get the banner image cropping on the right. Obviously you can change that with picture fill to be a different aspect ratio banner, but then when you get bigger, the bottom of the image gets cut off, and obviously if the focus of the image is at the bottom, the client would most likely moan about that. So option two So this is just an image which dictates the height of the banner. So when you get to massive sizes, obviously it takes up the entire screen, and clients don't normally like that because of the fold.
What happens when you get smaller, that one?
So this one will just keep shrinking.
Oh,
And then
so
obviously
still
because it's
full.
based on the image, the text is positioned absolute over the top, and then when you get small you have kind of a lot more work to do to get the content to fit. So obviously there you would have to use a different aspect ratio image, which is fine, but then obviously if it's a fluid banner, that text could be, you don't know what that text is going to be. So to make sure it works across every single pixel all the way down to mobile is obviously a ton load of work. So option 3, so this is the same as the first one, but we've put a max width on it to stop it getting too big and cutting too much of the bottom off. That's an approach we took on Jordan's because they were saying the bottom of their banner image was getting cut off. So basically I put a max width to the side so it only goes so big. And then option 4. So this is the same as option 2, but with a max width to stop it basically getting too large. So again, the same thing, but it doesn't take up the entire screen. So those are kind of the options we have when we're dealing with banners. So obviously stuff kind of has to crop or cut somewhere. We can't just provide an infinite number of images for however big or small desktop.
Can we share that link?
Yeah.
Or do you have to have a code pen?
No, I can share that link.
Like for Jordan's, just giving them that would make so much money explaining to them, because they're so responsive as well. So trying to explain to them like this, if I just showed them that, it'd be like, you can basically have 1, 2, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer? Would make so much sense.
Yeah, so with like option 1, with that, obviously that kind of stays at the top left and cuts off at the bottom. We can centre that image so it cuts like from the edges, which is kind of the best approach normally, but obviously like I said, if you've got a picture of somebody's face, then obviously you can get the tops of their heads getting cut off.
They had one with like a book in the top right, and then the next banner image had a family in the bottom middle, so you're always going to lose something, so that's why the fix worked quite well.
Hard to tell, you know.
Could that be just a radio button in the CMS to choose where the focus should be when you're uploading an image?
You could do, and then you could add a class depending, and then you could tell it where you want the banner to crop from, so whether you want it positioned like top left, top right, and we could have different classes which position them.
I think that would wouldn't it, Phil?
Yeah.
Just to choose, because you don't know where the focus is going to be.
They don't ever.
They're not going to know. It just makes it super flexible.
Yeah, but
then you get problems with mobile, because like I said, as it shrinks, you might choose top right, but on a mobile it's like a different layout.
Yeah, so on a mobile you'd have a different crop of the image, a different aspect ratio, so I've got a solution coming up.
He's not all about problems.
So,
questions?
That's not all.
I've got a lot.
Where did I get to? Okay, so this is pretty much King Edward was like this. So an image on the right and text on the left, and then obviously this image here is set to be a minimum height of 100% and a minimum width. So it'll always scale to fit this space, and this space's height grows depending on the content. So like that, you can see it starts kind of getting cut off, and the height gets bigger as the text gets longer. So that's fine, and then as you go wider, obviously that shrinks and then that gets cut off. So that's centered, which is fine, but then obviously if that's somebody's face, obviously you can imagine their head's going to start getting cut off, which isn't ideal. With that one, to fill the space, there's not really that much you can do. On King Edward, we had to just kind of put a min height on the text, and it left a gap at the bottom of the text, but we had to do it to make sure their faces kind of stayed. And there's not really that much we can do other than that for this.
On mobile, doesn't it stretch the image though? Because I had this on TTN, they had a wine glass, and then when it goes down to mobile, like you've got here, it then became like a champagne glass that looked really, it was the same glass, it just stretched, so that didn't work because it completely distorted the image. Is that what yours is doing? If you're going really thin?
Mine basically
zooms in.
It just zooms in, so you can see it's getting pixelated because the height is going up, but the aspect ratio stays the same.
So on mobile, would you just stack it?
Yeah, so on mobile you'd stack it,
Yeah.
but obviously between like 1024 on desktop and then however big their desktop is, there's a lot of room
Yeah.
for change in that. And I think when it comes to this, it's just a case of educating the client what will happen to their images. So if we could build perhaps just a demo which shows with people's faces what happens to the images as stuff scales. King Edward's the perfect example of that really for their.
Would it be more of a case of letting the designers know never to do that type of design? Because it was never, because either option is going to be shit. You don't really want to zoom in
Yeah,
at all.
it does work, but obviously if it's a very specific image where a certain portion of it needs to be seen, then it doesn't work so good. But just kind of generic images, you know, it can work. Never say never. So I think is it about, how'd you get to their team? Can't remember. So here, so as you can see, if you, I've got a max width on that, but if that kept going, his face would just get cut off. So we had a real issue in how we saved out the images to make sure that obviously these have to be from the top because we don't want the top of their heads getting cut off, and we had to put a max width, otherwise like their face would just get cut off. And as you can see there, at that point, she's starting to get a little bit narrow, and then you can stack it.
Oh yeah.
You know, so if that was a generic image of a scene with stuff happening where there was no specific focal point, it'd be fine. It doesn't matter that you cut off the image, but someone's face is, you know. So perhaps don't do that
The thing
design.
is telling what size image the client has to put there. That's where I always get it confused, because what size do you base it on? Like, because at the end of the day, clients
That's what I'm
are.
coming to.
Oh, good. You've made continue. Love this talk.
Okay, so those are the problems. So I think if clients knew that, if we manage their expectations in like how we deal with those images, and obviously you won't get them phoning up saying, "Oh, the images are cutting." I know with David Salisbury, they had a design like that, and they were just adamant, "I do not want my images to crop, like at all, even a pixel." They were like, "No, I don't want them to crop." That layout, it's impossible. It's impossible to do that. You can't do that. They have to crop. The other problem: how to handle multiple image uploads. So, do we want the client to upload 4 different images? Probably not. They probably won't want to do that. But then you get the problem of if we auto crop and size them in the CMS will crop it from the same position every time. And then if the crop focus is bottom right and we crop from the top left every time, they'll say our images are cropping wrong, you can't see this person's face or whatever. So either we do it automatically, which you can't predict the results and there's no control over image crop, or we let them control their own images and upload 5 different images, which is a bit ridiculous. Especially if like they don't have Photoshop skills or anything like that, it can be a problem. So this is the solution. So letting them control how their images are cropped in the back end. So the way I see it working is they upload one massive file, and then they go to, once they've uploaded that file, they go to a page which has the different image sizes, and the crop selection tool will have a preset aspect ratio and define a default crop. They can save that if they're happy with it, or they can adjust the crop to focus on whatever they want it to focus on. And then that gives them complete control over their images. If they want the crop to be bottom right, they can do that, or if they want the default crop that it's selected, they can leave it as that. And I think that we've done it on ITV, so we have done it before, and it does work.